Well, what if it's below 1300 degrees?
If I knew that this is all it was, I would have just made this. Well, we're in the truck. Hell, what are you worried about here?
Alright, we're back here at Alabama Soda Blasting, and hey, there's my partner right over there. He helped me, he loaded the stuff up into the truck, and there's our parts for our R107 Mercedes, and man, they're looking really good. Control arms, subframe, springs, exhaust manifolds, looking great. So yeah, these guys are great here, so appreciate your help, buddy. Okay, we're back. We got the parts all cleaned up from the soda blaster. Looking really, really nice. Man, that is just incredible. So, I picked up a couple of cans of Duplicolor self-etching primer at O'Reilly here. Let's go ahead and put a coat of paint on this stuff. Clearly I'll paint most of this, but I'll leave this blank. I have the original Mercedes gusset kit here to reinforce these lower control arm mounts, so I'll paint most of this, leave that blank, and then after we're done painting, we'll weld those new gussets in place and maybe add a little more metal into it as well. All right, let me get started. It might rain, and boy, we'd be in a mess if that happened. So, all right, I got a piece of a can here. Let's finish that up and get that can emptied, then we'll move on to the nice full ones. This doesn't have to be pretty, just needs to, you know, cover up the bare metal. I'll tell you what, one thing that I really noticed here, it's been a while since I've painted bare metal with the Duplicolor self-etching stuff. It's clear to me now that this is ideal. When they say ideal for bare metals, they're not lying, okay? If you paint this, if you put this over the top of another paint surface, just as a, you know, an additional coat or a primer, it doesn't work all that way. It doesn't cover. It takes 2 or 3 coats, but if it's bare metal that's just been blasted, 1 coat does a fantastic job, and it's fast, so it really soaks in. Just an observation related to that product. So anyway, number 1 is done. All right, the exhaust manifolds are getting the VHT flame proof. That's good for 1300 to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, what if it's below 1300 degrees? What happens to the paint then? That's confusing. I can understand what would happen if it was above 2,000, but what if it's below 1,300? You guys comment down below and give me some asinine answers. I mean, I want ridiculous, stupid answers. This is a dumb label. Good paint. Dumb label. All right, progress so far. Control arms and exhaust manifolds. We just got the springs and the subframe to go. All right, ready for the big mamma jamma here. This is the subframe out of the R107, and we're going to get a coat of paint on this thing. Not going to overly emphasize this area right here because we've got to do some welding there. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing sealed up. All right, there you go. I'll say it again. I'll tell you what, this Duplicolor self-etching, ideal for bare metal, and they weren't kidding. Bare metal is where this stuff belongs. Don't put it over other primer or other paint or anything like that. Bare metal only. That's when it really shines. We've got the subframe all primed up, except for this little area right here. I got the wire wheel and got some of the primer off there. And you may recall from a previous video that I ordered this new old stock Mercedes kit. It's just some basic gussets that they made up to reinforce these lower control arms after they started breaking on folks. So this is an original Mercedes part that they made, and from everything I gather, it fits like this. With, you see this lip here? So this lip pokes to the front and towards the rear. You wouldn't install it with this lip here facing the inside.
At least that's what I think anyway. I can't say with 100% accuracy, but I'm also thinking it probably doesn't matter all that much. But we're going to do it like this. So you got to be careful. You know, at first glance, your eyeballs are, let's put it on there like that. No, it has to fall in line with this. So, you know, make sure you look downward like this and get it lined up, okay? So there you go. Not the most elegant fix I would offer, but it is what it is. And to be honest with you, if I knew that this is all it was, I would have just made this here in the shop out of some 3/16 sheet steel I could get at Lowe's. So anyway, yeah, all right. So I've got the other 3 pieces over there near the wire wheel. I was cleaning them up, and then I also got on it with the angle grinder and the flap disc, and got the bare metal exposed and all that. So to prepare the area for easy tacking. So I think up next I'm going to get a magnet and put a couple of tacks and hold this thing in place. Do the other one as well, and then make sure it looks good to me, and then we'll go ahead and weld it up. So that's the plan. I'll be right back. All right, that's what I got. Got it lined up pretty well, I think. Maybe have to bring that back just a touch there. And I was trying to get the metal lined up to minimize the gap here. I mean, this is, you know, you need some gap to weld to anyway, so I think that looks pretty good. And because this lip here that pokes out that way needs to line up with this lip on this thing that pokes out the same direction. I kind of dig it. Let me put a couple of spot welds in that, and we'll just kind of back up and eyeball it and see what we think. Got the welder set up to the settings I think might be applicable for this thickness of metal. Got her all straightened out. Let's put a couple of tacks on here. Got my welding helmet squared away. I think I had the settings incorrect on it. That's the reason I was using the older one last video. So I think I got this one squared away. Got new battery in it, cleaned all the sensors, and got the settings set properly. And anyway, I think we're going to be okay. Not great. Took a little minute for the metal to heat up. But anyway, I have found that welding in the presence of a magnet usually kind of screws with what you're doing. So things ought to go well after we remove that. Just my opinion, just my observation. And I need to put my welding gloves on. Hear that splatter? That's because of that magnet. It'll be okay after we remove that. All right, wish me luck. Put another tack up in the corner maybe, and then go for the gusto. Let me turn our wire down a little bit. What do you think? That looks all right, doesn't it? Looks way better than that Jake Leg mechanic I saw on the internet. Well, he sounds like he's just being arrogant now. Basically there's a hole down in there, and I just had to be careful and not blow out, you know. That's probably good enough, but we're gonna do it on both sides. How about that? All right, I was filling in a hole. It was in there's holes in this thing, right? So I was just filling that in. Gets a little tricky down in this little area. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I don't know that I need to weld up the end of that, do I? I don't know. I'll think about it. Need to do that part and that part there next, I think. I'll probably have to grind that down some. That is pretty much all done, except for some cleanup work. We'll probably have to grind that down a little bit. It got a little too aggressive right there. A couple of little pieces of stray wire there. Get the Dremel tool after that. And we'll clean that up. It'll look pretty good when we're done. Also, I'm thinking about getting some 1/8 inch sheet steel and probably bonding these two gussets together across here. I think I'm going to do that as well. So, settle down now. Don't get too rowdy. See what we're looking at there. You know, not perfect. It's on there though. It ain't coming off, I guarantee you that. I laid a few dimes down there. It looks all right, doesn't it? I got a little better over here on this side. Showing y'all my dirty pig welds, booger welds, or whatever you want to call them, I guess. I guarantee you one thing, way stronger than it was. Let's move on and take care of the other side. All right, we got the other side welded up there. Still need to clean it up with the scotch, with the air tools and whatnot, but doesn't look too bad. Probably as good as the dealer would have done back in the day. Probably would have used a stick welder, which, you know, that would have been fine. Doesn't have to be pretty underneath the car. Nobody's going to care. It just needs to be strong. So I'm trying to be not quite so critical of my work. Anyway, because I'm not a professional welder, I'm just a hobbyist. Still would like to put some something across here, and I am going to do that. So I'm going to take some measurements and see what I got here in the shop and kind of figure something out. So I'll be right back. You know something that I missed until right now? Look at that right there. There's no weld on that side from the factory. There's no weld there. Now it's fully welded on the outside. Granted, I guess they thought, oh, that's good enough. And maybe it is, I don't know. But I'm gonna take the wire wheel and I'm gonna clean this up and I'm gonna weld all down through there too. So yeah, I'm gonna do that on both sides. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep going until I get a good feeling for, you know, is this thing gonna break one day? I might sell it and somebody else might be driving it, you know. I don't want it to break on them. That'd be bad. We don't want that. All right, there you go, 1/4 inch plate welded in between there. I guarantee you one thing, I don't think it'll break. I can't guarantee anything, but I think it's gonna be okay. So we got extra weld in here. We got the gussets welded in. Got it cleaned up with a roll lock wheel a little bit so it doesn't look too atrocious. Atrocious? Yeah, whatever. Well, anyway, it's going to be underneath the car and it's going to be loaded up with black paint, and you know what? No one's going to care. But we'll know that it won't break when we're going down the road, and that's really all that matters. So, all right, let me got the dust off of it, so let's go get some self-etching primer on that. All right, a couple of more coats and I think we'll be done with our subframe reinforcement. Started putting the bushings in the lower control arm with the old R107 here, and we went ahead and we're using the Phoebe 01692. Says made in Germany, but with global materials. Anyway, I got these online. Where was it? FCP Euro, I think. Took a while to get them shipped in. They were on back order, but they seem to be really good quality.
So yeah, got the bolts and the washers and everything and the bushings. What you want to use, now according to the Mercedes documentation, the old factory service manual, they say use naphthalene. They spelled it with a German spelling or a European spelling, but I think the typical American spelling is a Naphthalene, something like that. Anyway, but if you look in the factory service manual, it's actually Naphtelen, something like that. It's shortened. I don't know the difference. Doesn't matter. I'm just trying to tell you what it says. Anyway, it says use that as a lubricant for the bushings. Don't use grease and oil and things like that, okay? I'm not going to use naphthalene or whatever it is. I'm sure it's fine, but I don't have any, and I'm not going to buy it, but I can use this. This is Mother's VLR, Vinyl Leather Rubber Cleaner. If you look at my previous video on sliding roof maintenance on the W126 Mercedes, you'll note that in the last video, or nearly the last video in the series, I used Mother's VLR to lubricate all of the rubber seals to install them into the sunroof, and that worked a treat. This stuff works great for lubricating rubber to insert bushings and seals and all that kind of stuff. So just a handy tip. That's really good stuff, not just for cleaning, but for lubricating rubber as well if you're going to work with it. So yeah. All right, so let me get set up and do the let's see, I got 4 of them. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me get set up and do the other side. The book said don't try to do both at the same time. Oh my goodness, we can't have that. I don't know why. I guess it just takes all the fun out of it or something. So yeah. All right. Anyway, so we're going to put this that one in over there next. So I already put some up inside there, and I put some on the bushing, and I started to slide it in there by hand actually. So you want to make sure and get this thing kind of level, so you don't want to put it in there all catty corner. So like that. I'm a little wounded, so yeah. Well, it looks straight. There we go. Tighten it down there. There we go. Yep, there we go. All right. Yeah, that looks good. All right, we're going to go with the upper control arm bushings next. We're going to use 01693 control arm bush kit. Says made in Germany, although it did on the packaging, I believe it said assembled in Germany from components in Poland, Taiwan, province of China. Which province of China? Anyway, whatever. And then Vietnam. So, or Vietnam, as they say down here. So yeah, these bushings, they're good. They're fine. I believe the upper control arm had aftermarket stuff in it to begin with. However, these look like more high quality units than the ones I pulled out. And but they don't offer a whole lot of resistance. I mean, I lubed it up with the VLR and just tapped it in with a hammer. I tapped it in pretty good. I didn't have to ram it home with a maul or anything, just a little ball peen hammer there, you know. But just put a little Mother's VLR up in the hole there. I'm telling you, that's good stuff for bushings. What you want is a really well organized workbench when you do this, clearly. So, and then you get your bushing. All right, you're gonna lube that up a little bit too, you know. There we go. Spread it all around. Kind of mash it up in there with your fingers like that. Grab it with one hand, tap it on home with a hammer. It's about the easiest bushing installation I've ever seen. All right, there you go. There's one side. I'm going to do the other one next. And then I already got the lower control arms done. And they offer a lot more resistance than the uppers do. So, yep. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish these bushings up, and we'll move on to something else. Up next, let's go ahead and put the bushings in the subframe. And I'm going to use a little piece of wood, a little bit of Mother's, and a little tip. These came in from Molly, whatever. And yeah, got all the things in it, you know, the metal and the rubber and the plastic and the bolts and everything. It's got everything in the kit. It's a really nice kit, actually, and it was inexpensive. It was on sale. I think I gave $50 for it. So, yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be fairly straightforward as well. And you know, this cleaner here
it just dissipates after a while. It's not going to hurt anything. So not going to hurt anything at all. And it's like 10 bucks, or I forget what I gave for that. Might have been 12 or 13 bucks. Lasts a good long while. And let's see how well we do here. Put a little piece of wood there. Doing this with one hand. I got the phone thing. I'm doing the phone thing here. So yeah, look at that. It's just stupid simple. I think that's it. Yep. I might have to tap it down just a wee bit more, but you get the point, right? Really, really simple. So let me do all 4 of those and we'll move on. All right, the time has arrived. We're going to get this M617. No, that's not right. It's an M117. Get it straight, Harris. We're going to get our V8 Mercedes motor up there to the machine shop today. That's what we're going to do. I also said I was going to get a air-powered cylinder for this cherry picker. But instead, I'll ruin my other thumb. Let's see, that ought to be good enough for now. Got to let it down anyway to pick up the motor, so let's just do that. Let's see, let's stretch her out a little bit. This engine hoist is a pretty good product though, from Northern Tool. Strongway. I wonder if is Strongway and Pittsburgh the same company? I don't know. Probably designed here and then they hired Beijing to make it, I guess. I don't know. Let me tell you what though, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with these engines. When you set them and you leave them alone in the shop by themselves to their own devices, some strange stuff happens, you know. Alright, we got a couple of head bolts into the motor there. So let's get some chains set up and hook this thing up. I'm going to take this old engine down to Hurley Engine Service in Birmingham. And we're going to let them have at it. Let me get this mess squared away. Okay, I think I'm going to try to do this with one chain. Try to make my life a little easier here. So on the Corvette engine, you know, I went through all that trouble to put as many bolts as in the engine and lift it, you know, carefully and make sure nothing broke, you know, when I lifted it into the back of the truck and all that jazz. And I get down there to the engine shop. I used Precision Machine in Birmingham and they did a fine job, but clearly they knew way more about it than I did, because when he went to lift the engine out of the back of my pickup, he just put one head bolt, I think somewhere here, right on the motor. And then he went up there with his tractor and his little chain and whatnot. He had one chain on one bolt in his thing, and then you just kind of looped the chain around the bolt and lifted it out of there and dangled it all over the place, and it was fine. You know, didn't present any issues whatsoever. One bolt dangling precariously, and I was in cringe mode. It was just ridiculous how much cringe was going on at that time. All right, let's let that down, because and the reason why is I just don't know what I'm doing. So, because I'm not an engine guy, never have been. I'm not going to sit here and rack my brain against the wall for 6 months trying to figure out how to rebuild this engine. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to take it to somebody else, and look at that. It's going to be great. As Rat Rob Bob says, it's going to be great. He always says. What does he say? We're going to get it. We just ain't got it yet. Anyway, go watch Rat Rod Bob if you like to watch an expert build rat rods. That guy, he is all over it. I believe he lives in South Mississippi. All right, I'll see you in 4 weeks when I get this elevated to the proper level. I got it on the last bolt. It says half ton. That's 1,000 pounds. So, you know, when I was rolling this around, you know, I thought, well, you know, it's a cast iron block, but it's like, how heavy could it be? I started rolling around on that engine stand. It ain't light. You guys comment down below and let me know what the unsprung weight of a bear, not a bear, but Mercedes M117 short block is. Short block means, you know, without the heads and everything on it. We got to be careful when we roll this thing over here. That's a little drop off. And there goes the wife going to work. Hey, see you later. All right, because there's a drop off right over here, right in front of the pickup truck. So let me get a block. I don't want this thing running away with me. I should probably make some kind of ramps or something. See there? That instantly wanted to run off. So you have to continually lift it up because it's going downhill, and well, you get it. Let's see, I'm not pointed. Let's get it pointed the right direction. There we go. Those blocks ain't doing a damn thing. Lift it up a little more. There we go. It just wants to roll down into the driveway, which I guess is fine. I just don't like things being uncontrolled. Well, we're in the truck. Hell, what are you worried about here? Let's get it, well, it's not centered. I can't, there we go. And that's as far as we can go, because the jack and everything is just, you know, is what it is. Ow. That's why we're getting that fixed on Monday. I reckon we'll leave these bolts in here for our machine shop. I was kind of dreading this. This is kind of a chore, actually. When that guy down there at the engine service sees the spec for the end play on this crankshaft, he might go like, I don't know, buddy. Let's pull it out of there. I guarantee you. There we go. We just need to make sure we can close the tailgate. All right, what I'm going to do now is get some straps on each corner and strap this thing down real good. Got to get the heads in the truck, and then we're going to head to Birmingham. So we'll be back here in a minute. All right, we got the 117 loaded up in the bed of the truck and strapped down, and but we're going to be careful because I didn't really get it as far forward as I wanted to. It's too far back, really. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can, so we're going to run with it and just drive carefully. So yeah, got the heads back there, and had a couple questions in my head. The timing chain sprockets on that are beneath the timing cover, but you know, below the heads, the ones on the main part of the engine there, they have these bearings, and they ride in these bearings on the front of the engine. And I was just a little concerned about the cleaning process for the block and damaging that bearing, or would they remove the bearings that are in there and put new ones in. So anyway, basically I got the sprockets in a little baggie and I got them marked just in case they need them. They may go, nah, we don't need that, or they go, yeah, we'll set this aside. I really don't know. Another thing is, the first head that I disassembled, I decided to remove the coolant passages plugs, and I think really now that was probably a mistake. I don't really see the need in it, because down inside the coolant passages was really good. It looks great. There's no, it looks fine, right? So on the other head, of the second head, I didn't remove those plugs. And the reason why is one of the plugs on the first head gave me a problem, and I tried to dig that rascal out of there, and it was a fiasco. It just turned to crap. basically it was in there with kryptonite, you know, it just would not come out. So ended up, you know, raising all kind of hell. And so it's a mess. That one plug is. I'm gonna rely on the machine shop, hopefully, to mill that thing out of there for me, and then fashion some sort of a plug. I got one of the plugs in a baggie back there, and I'll give that to him. And I said, well, here's what it looked like. Maybe you can make a new one or something similar that'll work. The way the factory sealed those coolant passage plugs was with a little, well, a sealing ring, an aluminum washer, really. But there's not a lot of pressure there, like what, 15 psi or something. So, you know, you could probably just fashion another plug and then seal it with some Permatex Ultra Gray, and it'll be fine. So, or just some Teflon tape or something like that. All right, I'm about to get on the interstate here. We're going to run to Birmingham. All right, I think we're going to move our attention over here to the passenger side front corner. Got a nice little rust hole right there. I'd like to get rid of that. So we got our respirator on because this generates a lot of dust. I think I'm going to get the, let's get the wire wheel after that next. Let's try that. All right, we're going to move over to this type of wheel right here before we finish up on the top. All right, the GoPro's charging, and no, I'm not going to put another battery in it. Yes, I have more, but I refuse to change batteries every 18 minutes. Just not going to happen. It's going to have to buy another camera. That's what we got here. I got after it with a couple of different wire wheels and dig it in there just to see where we're at, and you can see where, you know, we exposed the weak metal with that really thick wire wheel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get after this with the same wire wheels for a few minutes and see what else is yet to be seen, and then we'll start the process of cutting, and I'm going to find some metal, make a patch, weld it in, all that stuff. That's the plan. So yeah, let me get after this seam here. I think I'll start here, and I'll work my way up through here and dig a little far. I don't want to go too far up this way because right now this is kind of exploratory to see how much metal we've got to change out. I don't think it's going to be that bad though. Let me get after the wire wheel and I'll be right back. All right, there we go. I think that's the extent of the damage really. So what we'll probably do is, there's a little pinhole right there. I'll probably just weld that up. Maybe, I don't know, let's see. We'll probably make a cut from here and kind of go back over this way and come back down that way a little bit, and then get the grinder and remove this stuff from the frame, or if you want to call it a frame, but you get it right, and then take that out of there and then sort of fashion a new piece of metal there. I've got some scraps over in the bin, so I think we can make something up without too much trouble. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, you know, that part right there, and no one's ever going to look at it except for me and you and everybody who watches this. So maybe I will do a better job. Anyway, so yeah, I was poking around with the grinder and whatnot. I don't think there's any more holes in this particular area, although I will make some spot checks here and there and get underneath this coating right here. So this stuff is good, but it's kind of a hit or miss type deal. Sometimes it can hide really bad problems. All right, we're back. Next day, and ready to start cutting this little bit of patch out of here. It's probably not going to be that graceful at all, so let's see how well we do. There's not much room in here. I may have to go for the reciprocating air saw. Yeah, reciprocating air saw, that sounds good. All right, we're gonna go for Ingersoll Rand here. Woo, hearing protection. Holy cow, that'll wake the dead right there. Got my earmuffs on. This is exciting stuff. I don't know why anybody would want to watch anything else, really, to be honest with you. Oh, that's much better. That's what happens when the metal vibrates up and down. It starts to impact your ability to, well, reciprocate. So. There's stuff falling out of the car. It's too much vibration. Alright, there we go. So now we're down to the weld. So, yeah, let me get the Dremel tool next. Alright, there's our little hole. So yeah, that part back in there, that's going to be a big old mess because there's basically no room to do anything back there. It's going to be a struggle. So I'm anticipating several booger welds back there. Yeah, what I'm going to do is go grab some scrap metal now and see if I can start hammering out a basic shape. And I'll probably clean up these lines a little bit to make it a little easier to fashion. All right, I measured our hole over there. It's basically 8 by 2.5. So found some of this. This is 22 gauge. Got it from Lowe's a long time ago for a project. So I'm gonna run with that. And so yeah, 8 inches, somewhere in that neighborhood there. Let's see, 2.5. Doesn't have to be exact. And seeing as how it's 22 gauge, we're just gonna go with the snips, because that's easy. It's gonna get all bent up anyway, so it just doesn't matter. All right, let's see what we can do about it's not strangling ourselves to death. Our basic cutout shape here. You know, we're just going to kind of copy that a little bit. And we'll tweak it with the snips and the grinder and all that kind of jazz. So there we go. And we can always saw on the car too to make it match, so it doesn't really matter. All right, I think I am going to use the air saw. It's a lot faster. I just didn't feel like making too much noise, but I don't see a way around it right now. I'm gonna go eyeball that over here on the car. I'll be right back. I got it a little too tall there, I think, so let's just trim that down a little bit. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. And before we go any further, we're gonna need to bend a flange on that. So yeah, there's a slight curvature here too, so we may have to do some stretching and stuff like that. So let me put a bend in here. So let's see where I want to put it. How about, let's just try, let's shoot for halfway and just see how well we do. All right, after a few minutes of tapping and bending and cutting with the 10 snips, basically I have this very, very, very rough thing here. Basically just put it up there, snip a little, put it up there again, snip a little. That's the basic process. So, you know, it's not hard. It's just trial and error. And this is not critical anyway, so it's not like it's a body panel on the outside that people are going to see. It just needs to match the hole roughly so we can weld it in place. All right, this is what we got. So I think it's about as good as it's going to get, really. I can hold it right up in there, tack it into place in a few spots, and then as we go around it, we can hammer it into submission with the ball peen and make it, you know, fall in line with the rest of the car. So yeah, that's the way we're going to play it. All right, I'm gonna get my welder set up. I'll be right back. Welder set on A, which is the lowest voltage setting. Wire speed's at 2.5. That's according to the chart on the welder. And I'm not gonna be able to do that with the glove. I'm gonna have to risk it for the biscuit here so I can have some coordination. Also, I got to cut a piece of that wire off of there. It's a little bit too long. You don't want to start too, damn it. You got to be careful where you hit your trigger there. I think that looks good right there. Boy, that's welding like crap. All right, I got to figure out my welding settings. I'll be right back. All right, it's a struggle. Real thin sheet metal. The body is a little rusty still, so you had to, I blew out in a few places. I did some work down here, but most was done up top. I lowered the car and did it from above. I've got this end down here done. I got to work on that end down there. I got a gap to fill down there. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and make some, I'm going to drill some holes in here and make some plug welds to the main body of the car. So yeah, all right, it's coming along. We'll get there here in a minute. All right, really tight quarters up in here. Really, really tight. So it's nearly impossible to film all this stuff. But anyway, I got the welds ground down fairly well. I mean, you can still see them clearly, but in my mind, this just doesn't matter. I drilled into it 4 different places to break through this piece of metal and down into that one. So what I'm going to do is put some plug welds in here next. And then, I mean, you know, you compare that against, well, everything else, right? I mean, come on, you know, it's whatever. So we're fixing a hole, and after we put seam sealer on here and maybe some more undercoating, you won't even see any of this mess. So that's all we're doing is structural type stuff here. This is not for looks, so I'm trying not to be too overly critical of my half-baked work. So anyway, let me go ahead and put some welds in here, and we'll move on. All right, there we go. Got 4 plugs in there. I dare say that is perfectly fine. So we'll let that cool off, then we'll go ahead and put a coat of self-etching primer on it, and then we'll just let this sit while we work on the rest of the car. Because at some point, we're going to come back through here and paint all this stuff and undercoat it and do all the things. But for right now, this is good enough. All right, we better get some self-etching primer on this thing because we don't want anything to start rusting on us, do we? Give me strength. Oh no, we might get runs if we put it on too thick. Anyway, there you go. That'll protect that up. And I'll do the same on the top there, and we'll move on. All right, folks, I think we're going to wrap it up right here for this weekend's video. On Monday, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this thing fixed. It's aching pretty good. So what does that mean? That means for the next, I don't know, 6 weeks maybe? Something like that. I won't be doing, you know, heavy stuff with this hand at all. So I'll have to let it heal, you know, because I like to pick on the guitar in the evenings in my downtime. And of course, I love wrenching on cars, and I love to play golf and do all the things. And that's just, all those things are painful right now. So we're going to get this fixed. It's been a couple of years. I've been kind of putting it off, but recently I decided to go to my orthopedic doc. He put it to me like this. He goes, I went to see him a while back. He goes, when you get fed up with it, you'll be back. He was right. Anyway, we got the engine to the machine shop. That's going to take a couple of months anyway, right? It's not like he's going to turn it around immediately. And yes, he does have a Mercedes engine specialist that he can call if he gets in a tight. So how about that? Hurley Engine Service downtown Birmingham, they've got a lot of experience with a wide variety of engines. So great bunch of guys down there. We got the front end stuff back from the Soda Blaster. We got the bushings installed. I don't have ball joints on order yet. I was kind of waiting for the next YouTube paycheck to roll around. So anyway, trying to save the budget on this one, you know. And we've got a ton of work to do in the front end to keep us busy while that engine is down at the shop. So we have time to get the front end of this car sorted. So over the next several weeks, that's probably where I'm going to be concentrating my efforts, albeit a little more slowly. Anyway, that's all for this video, folks. I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy restoring your classic Mercedes.